Hey, good evening, Professor. This is Ryan De La Rosa with my presentation for supporting students with dyslexia through ATT or assistive technologies. So, to start off with, the article starts off by first defining what dyslexia is. Now, dyslexia is a neurobiological disability that impedes individuals' ability to decode, recognize, and spell words or sentences. This disability is often met with lackluster answers by teachers who struggle to meet students' needs in a more than overburdened school system. To start off with, I would like to use the example of Ronan. Now, Ronan is a bright child who has struggled throughout his school career due to dyslexia. His recent dyslexia diagnosis has led to the formation of an IEP to help accommodate his needs. However, Ronan still struggles with achieving grade level work. To help in this aspect, there are many strategies such as AT or assistive technologies that offer different ways to garner the same comprehension in Ronan. Now we go on to our next slide. What are some of those technologies or practices that we talked about in the first slide? So the key practices that the article talked about are important to understanding the variety of suitable technologies students are able to pick from that best accommodate their needs. So essentially, we stress this more student-based understanding of one, what is their needs, and which technology best fits those needs. And by allowing students to choose, we give them a variety of options. Some of them I put in this bullet point, things like word processor, voice typing, Siri, Audible, Natural, and Mercury Reader. Now, many of these technologies often use, like Audible, they use human voices to read more complex books or concepts to students rather than having students with dyslexia who can't necessarily use their own visual analysis due to that impairment. So I think like Audible will have them listening into a book that they might be reading in English, right? And this gives students a more flexible and even, in my opinion, a more entertaining way to teach students. And that takes us to our next slide. So for text-to-text connections, one of the quotations that really stuck out to me was from our book on in page 32 of Exceptional Lives. So it reads, other groups in the disability microculture increasingly prefer identity-first language. For example, many people in the autistic community advocate for the use of identity-first language. They feel that autism is an inherent part of their identity and a source of pride. Using identity-first language is viewed as a way to challenge obvious stereotypes and prejudices. So, the usage of identity first language um, can be implemented in the dyslexia impairment by saying that dyslexia isn't a source of shame, but rather a part of who you are. So, by embracing this disability, we give students the chance or the ability to view themselves differently, right? And by viewing themselves differently, we give them tools that other students aren't necessarily pushed towards to. Things like assistive technology, augmentative and alternative communication devices, or AAC, which I took from the slides that we learned prior, and many service delivery models. So on to our next slide, text to world connections. So having that knowledge of disabilities allows for teachers to be more understanding of why some students may be performing the way they are. This causes teachers to create an environment of safe learning by encouraging students to grow despite their inhibitors. I think that just by being exposed to many of these disabilities, teachers can become more educated or knowledgeable about some of the things that affect or that are going to affect students that we're going to come into contact with. And by being knowledgeable of these things, we're educators are going to have a wider grasp of one, how to deal with these disabilities, and two, how to include students and create that um, safe and comfortable learning environment that many students struggle to find due to their disabilities. Now, this leads us to our text to self connections. So, even though my major is political science and it doesn't have anything to do necessarily with exceptional children and students with disabilities, I think that expanding your knowledge base in that subject area allows you to understand students more deeply that you may come across. I know in my tutoring job that I've come across some students that really struggle with English comprehension and just reading and writing in general at the level that they should be. And I think knowing that these disabilities exist, one, has widened my view towards those students. And I think it just comes down to implementing those strategies that we talked about. I know as teachers for general ed, at least, it can be really difficult to stray from that status quo that most teachers are taught, or at least most teachers are brought up with. And I think straying away from that curriculum is very important, and I think that that's something that I am personally gonna use in my own practice. Now, all in all, there are many creative strategies to face issues both students and educators face. These creative approaches allow for educators to challenge the status quo and provide students unconventional methods that actually work, much like what we talked about in the prior slide. And that's pretty much it for my presentation. Thank you very much.